At 3 in the morning, Daniel is wide awake in the dark, tired to the bone but somehow wired. His body woke him for no reason he can name, and it will not let him fall back asleep. This happens to a lot of people around midlife, and it is not a flaw or a diagnosis. Somewhere inside him, a small hormone keeps its own schedule, and lately that schedule runs late. By the end of one ordinary day, he will know exactly why. Skip ahead now, past the whole ordinary day, to that same evening on the porch. Daniel sits on the porch step with a cup of tea, and he leans over a small blood pressure monitor resting on the railing. The number reads lower than the one he saw at breakfast. His eyebrows lift just a little. Nothing dramatic happens on the porch. Only a quiet surprise, and a number he did not expect. What changed in a single day, with no new diet and no medicine? Hold that question. 5 small clues are about to answer it. Now go back with him to 3 in the morning, hours before any of that evening happened. A floorboard creaks as Daniel shifts his weight, and the fear has no source he can point to. On the chair by the bed, yesterday's jeans wait, belt still buckled snug from the day before. He stares at the same red numbers and wonders why his body picked this exact hour to sound an alarm. Over the course of one ordinary day, 5 quiet clues will gather into a single clear picture. The culprit is not the food, and it is not the years. It is something smaller, and it has a name. Daniel stands at the kitchen counter, and his hand reaches for the coffee pot without his eyes following it. Morning light spills across the nook, but he is not really awake yet. That reach is the first clue, small and easy to miss. His body is asking for something, and coffee is only the messenger. What it is really asking for is cortisol, the body's alarm hormone. Cortisol is made in 2 small glands that sit right above the kidneys, each about the size of a walnut. But those glands do not act alone, and they do not act first. The order comes down a short chain inside him, from the hypothalamus to the pituitary to the adrenal glands. It moves like a relay of 3 co-workers passing one urgent note, each handing it along until it reaches the last desk, and only the last one acts. This alarm has a name, because someone finally sat down and gave it one. The feeling is ancient. The word we hang on it came much later, long after the body knew it. The feeling was old. The word for it was new. So what does cortisol actually do once the note arrives? It tells the liver to dump stored sugar into the blood, like a warehouse pulling inventory for a rush order. The point is fuel, fast. For a real emergency, that is a gift. On a quiet Tuesday at the counter, it is fuel with nowhere to go. And the coffee keeps coming. The cup in his hand is already the third, and he notices it now as if someone else had been refilling it. The belt is the second clue, and it argues back at him. Daniel loops it through his jeans the way he has 1,000 mornings, but the buckle lands on the last hole now, tighter than it sat a month ago. The food has not changed. The plate is the same, the portions the same, the late dinner's the same. So the waistband is telling him something the fork never mentioned. Here is the rhythm his body is supposed to keep, the one that runs quietly under every day. Not long after you open your eyes, it rises to a natural peak, a jolt that helps you get moving. Then it drifts down all day, quiet and steady, until near midnight it sits at its lowest point of the whole day, clearing the way for deep rest. That is the design. But Daniel's midnight seems to go missing. The low point never quite arrives, so the alarm hormone lingers when it should be gone. And this is exactly where the belt finally gets its answer, in a chart no waistband can read. Belly fat is not just a passive pile of storage sitting quietly under the skin. That fat holds a hidden switch that can quietly turn the alarm hormone back on, right there in the tissue. The more it stores, the more of the hormone it can wake up on the spot. The hormone tells the body to store more fat at the middle. The fat brews more of the hormone. It is a loop that tightens itself. So a growing midsection after 40 is not always the fork. Sometimes it is a switch nobody told you was there. Daniel pulls the buckle to the last hole again, the same belt as last month. If it really isn't the food, then what has been doing this to him all along? By 10 in the morning, Daniel's hand keeps drifting toward the salty crackers at the center of the meeting table. He is not hungry. He noticed it yesterday too, that pull towards salt and sugar he never used to feel. That craving is not weakness. It is the same alarm hormone, nudging him to reload fast fuel it thinks he needs. So the snack disappears before the meeting even warms up. Then a colleague leans in with a question, and Daniel opens his mouth to answer with her name. Nothing comes. He has known her for years, but for one long second her name is simply gone. That fog is not age catching up. Long stress just clouds the part of the mind that holds names and faces. That may be why focus feels blurry under long stress. The name arrives a beat later. He laughs it off, but the blank stays with him. The same hormone splits his focus and pulls him towards salt and sugar. And it does one thing more. That evening, rolling up his sleeve at the kitchen counter, Daniel finds a bruise on his forearm he cannot place. Under long stress, the skin loses a little of its usual toughness, so it marks up more easily than before. The mark is a receipt, not an accident. 5 clues now, all pointing one way. So he sets a small blood pressure cuff on the counter and slips it on. The number reads higher than usual, and the evening is not over yet. Daniel steps out onto the porch as the light goes soft, and the floorboard creaks under his foot, the same one that woke him hours before dawn. Tonight the creak is not a warning. It is just a board, and he is the one standing on it, on purpose, by choice. He sits down in the old chair and rests one hand on the rail, next to the blood pressure cuff he set there earlier. Then he does the one thing the whole day has been pointing toward. He slows his breathing down. Breathing slowly, around 4 to 6 breaths a minute, is one of the few ways you can reach into this hormone system on purpose and ask it to quiet down. Think of holding a door so it closes gently instead of slamming. All day the alarm ran on its own, hidden behind the coffee and the tight belt and the number on the cuff. He breathes in for a slow count, out for a longer one, and the racing settles a notch. Nothing dramatic, just his heartbeat, quieter than it was a minute ago. While the sky fades to gray over the yard, he starts planning tomorrow morning. First light on his face the moment he wakes. Curtains open before anything else. Coffee only until noon, none after, because a single cup can keep the alarm hormone lifted for hours. The cuff still sits on the rail beside him, and tonight he leaves this second reading untaken. He looks at it, then looks back at the darkening yard. Not yet, he decides. That number can wait until the coffee and the curtains. Tomorrow. A week later, Daniel keeps a small notebook by the kettle, and this week he plans it the way a gardener plans a slow spring. 2 short strength sessions at the neighborhood gym, nothing heroic, just enough to ask his muscles for a little work. Between them, 1 easy walk, the kind of pace where he can still hold a conversation without going breathless. He is not chasing exhaustion. That matters more than it sounds. Grinding yourself down at the gym reads to the body like one more emergency, and the alarm hormone answers every emergency the same way. So, the whole week is quietly built to signal calm to his body, not one more crisis. On the counter sits a plate he would have skipped a month ago. Eggs, beans, a handful of greens, protein and fiber where the crackers used to be. Under long stress, the body borrows a small amount of muscle protein for fuel, the way you dip into savings instead of the paycheck. A steady plate quietly pays some of that back. The gym asks, the kitchen answers. Then the pot of coffee. He pours the first 2 before noon and lets the afternoon stay bare. A single cup can lift the alarm hormone for hours, as he now knows. about the span of one long meeting. At noon, he sets the third cup down and looks at it as if seeing for the first time who it had been to him all these years. And if the 3 o'clock wakings keep returning, if a bruise he cannot place shows up again, he tells himself something gentle. Not a verdict, just a calm, kind moment to check in on himself, the next reasonable step. The clues that once had to shout at him have gone quiet, and quiet is easy to stop noticing. A few evenings later, Daniel is back on the porch, same chair, same tonometer. He wraps the cuff around his arm, waits out the squeeze, and reads the number on the little screen. It sits lower than that first evening, and he lets it pass without a story. Those name blanks come far less often now. The body keeps a diary in small numbers, and the kind thing is to read it, not to fear it. His belt sits a notch easier now, not from starving, but the hormone letting go. He breathes slowly on the step, 4 to 6 breaths a minute, the same porch, a steadier man. The evening settles around him. You can carry the same evening home tonight, and it fits into 3 plain steps. Dim the light in the hallway an hour before bed, so the room stops pretending it is noon. Set the coffee cup in the sink by midday and leave it there. Then let your head find the pillow before the clock climbs anywhere near 3. That old 3 in the morning has gone quiet for Daniel now. So here is the one thing I'll ask you tonight, before you go to bed. Of those 3 steps, the light, the cup, the early pillow, one of them is already calling to you tonight. You don't have to earn tonight's rest. The body already scheduled the repair shift. So which small clue will you finally stop ignoring?